Oklahoma Gardening is a production of the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service as part of the land grant mission of the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources at Oklahoma State University, dedicated to improving the quality of life of the citizens of Oklahoma through research-based information. Underwriting assistance for our program is provided by the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, helping to keep Oklahoma green and growing. Today on Oklahoma Gardening, host Casey Hentges has the first steps to creating planting beds from straw bales. We celebrate the history and success of the Oklahoma Proven Plant Selection Program. Turfgrass Specialist Justin Moss helps us aerify our lawn. And Barbara Brown cooks creamed corn.
Tired of fighting with poor garden soil? Or perhaps you live in a temporary situation where you don't want to invest in building a raised bed. Well, we may have the solution for you if that's the case, and this is called straw bale gardening. Basically, it's planting in straw bales. Typically, straw bales are preferred over hay bales because they have less weed seeds. Now, they still may have some weed seeds, but they have fewer weed seeds in them. You can see here we have 8 straw bales, and you want to place them up on end so the twine is actually going around the bale, and what traditionally would be the long side of the straw bale is actually going to be our top side. So this is so we can have plenty of space to plant in. You want to make sure to keep them twined up or whether it's wire or twine, keep them attached because that's what's going to hold that bale together. Now, if you have new bells, there's a process that we need to do called conditioning these bells, and that's going to take about 14 days. If you're planting this with a warm season crop in mid-April, you're going to want to start this process towards the end of March or the beginning of April so that you're ready to plant as soon as possible. When we condition these straw bells, what we're doing is we're starting a process of decomposition. You can see straw bells are made of a lot of straw and carbon material, and basically if we don't condition them prior to planting, any fertilizer or nutrients that we add to this, the microbes are going to tie it up immediately and not make it available for our plants. So by starting the conditioning process, that's going to start that decomposition and allow there to be some nutrients available for our plants when we plant them. So how do we do that? Again, the conditioning process takes about 14 days, and what you're going to do is every other day for 14 days, you're going to spread some urea or high nitrogen fertilizer across the top of the bales of straw. While you're applying the high nitrogen fertilizer every other day for 14 days, you want to make sure to water your straw bales every day for 14 days. Now that we've got our bells nice and soaked, and you do want to soak them thoroughly because you want to help get that nitrogen fertilizer down into that bale of hay or straw. Because what you're doing is you're creating an exothermic reaction of decomposition. So we're going to start breaking down that organic straw material with that nitrogen fertilizer. Now in this process, the straw bales are going to heat up over those 14 days. And so you can monitor when it peaks at heat. You can use soil probes such as what we have here. You can also kind of divide it and push your hand down in there and actually feel a warmer temperature down in the straw bale. It will peak in the 14 days, and then usually around the 14th day it'll start cooling off. And at this point you know that reaction has taken place. Your straw bale is starting to decompose, and so any additional fertilizer that you apply on your straw bale won't necessarily be completely tied up by those microbes. So at this point, then we could start planting. So for now, we've got our straw bales started, and we'll come back and water them every day for 14 days, and we'll fertilize them every other day for 14 days. For more information on how to start a straw bale garden or what you can plant in one, check out this fact sheet.
Today we're here to talk to you about the Oklahoma Proven Program, which has actually been around for a good 20 years, and we're actually celebrating 20 years of promotion of plant material that grows well in Oklahoma. And I've been helping with that program for the past several years, and today I have with me Lou Anella, who was actually initially involved when we started the program. Back in 1999 is actually when it started, I believe. It was the first introduction of plants.
It was actually the idea of Dale Marinick. He was our department head at that time, and he wanted to do a promotional program that would highlight plants that would do well throughout the state of Oklahoma. And so as a new faculty member at the time, I got stuck with the program. It was really a lot of fun to do the program and to get it started. And so he asked me to do that, and I did it. And one of the things that I changed in the program from how he envisioned it is that I made it a consumer program, that it really targeted the consumers and let them know what were the good plants that they could start to grow at home and have success with, and then hopefully feel confident and then branch out a little bit further. So it really is a great program for getting people to know what to start out with and what they can be sure they'll have success with.
Right, yeah. So we have included the industry, we've included the growers, we've included other horticulturists in the state to get their input and expertise as we choose the plants each year, right?
Yeah, they help us choose the plants. So we've traditionally had a committee of people, industry people, academics, that choose the plants that they choose the plants that they know will do well.
Right.
And then we promote those plants. And the hope is that we can get the industry on board to grow those plants for us or to catch up. You know, if the consumers are requesting them, hopefully then that the industry will get on board and grow those plants for us.
Right. And I think consumers will find that not all of the plants that we have promoted are necessarily plants that you can just walk down to any garden center and purchase. And because of that, I think that one of the reasons is for that educational purpose in terms of helping them know that there's a lot more out there than just the run-of-the-mill plants that you can find in most of the garden centers. That we wanted them to branch out and try something new.
Yeah, but that has been a point of debate, in the committee, because what's the point of promoting something if people can't find it? So we tried to strike a balance, and one of the ways we struck that balance was to introduce collector's choice. So that was a plant that, maybe would take a little bit of extra care in Oklahoma, may not be as foolproof as some of the others, or maybe a little bit harder to find, maybe not available, right down the street. You might have to order it online or something. But we wanted to expand the palette a little bit. We didn't want to be promoting all things that are really common and, just kind of run-of-the-mill.
Right.
So that was one way that we designated that to kind of expand the palette.
Yeah, yeah. So each year we choose an annual, a perennial, and a tree and a shrub that we promote. And then we do the collector's choice as well. So, here we have a whole bunch of plants. Actually, these are all, looks like they're all annuals that we have chosen over the years. So there's a wide variety of plants, as you can see here. We continue to promote additional plants each year. So this year, for 2019, we actually have, this is our Oklahoma Proven 20th Anniversary Celebration booklet that's brand new, and it has all of the plants in here from the beginning of the program with nice color pictures and explanations or descriptions of the plants. And this is available online as a PDF file, or if you're interested in purchasing a copy, that can be done as well. If you go to our Oklahoma Proven website, which also has information about all the plants and pictures, etc. You can again get the information about all of them.
So you've been instrumental in keeping the program going. What's being promoted for this year?
The tree for this year is actually limber pine, which I think is a beautiful pine, and it's really quite adapted to a wide variety of soil conditions, and I think it does well here in Oklahoma.
Yeah, the thing about pine trees and many evergreens, all evergreens actually, is people don't think that they need to be irrigated in the winter. But here in Oklahoma, they do.
That's true.
So that's the crucial part about getting evergreens to survive, is that winter irrigation.
That's right. That's right. For the shrub, we actually chose a new series for the flowering quince. It actually has beautiful camellia-like, double flowering camellia-like flowers, and they are spectacular.
They are spectacular.
Red and
really
orange,
bright.
really bright colors.
And upright, more of an upright form, which is more attractive, I think.
Yep. And then our perennial is the rattlesnake master.
I love that.
The Eryngium yuccifolium, which I think is a great plant. and very drought tolerant.
Yeah.
So great plant for Oklahoma, especially western Oklahoma, or people that are looking for a plant that requires less water. And then the annual is actually a pentas, and it's also a series that we chose that has a very uniform habit and lots of flowers. And of course, just in general, pentas are great plants and flower well and attract butterflies to the
Yep.
garden.
And flower all summer long.
Flower all
season.
summer long, yeah. So, over the years, we have, the program has evolved, like you said, and we initially started out with all kinds of different, we've had different types of publications over the years to, help promote that program. So this is one of the earlier ones that you had produced that had several plants in it. And as we filled it up, we had to go to another style where we could continue to add plants to it. So we had this one, and these are all past publications. We also had a wonderful booklet that everybody loved. But again, as you continue to add 4 or 5 plants every year, that's 4 or 5 new pages. Kind of got expensive to produce this. So we went to something a little bit more simpler. Now we have rack cards that have the year's plants on them. And then if you want to know, it has the information about how to find out what the other plants are by going to the website.
Right, so all the information for all 20 years is on the website, including this new booklet, the 20-year anniversary. So the PDF is on there, and also the booklet is available for purchase as well.
Yes, yes. Well, any other comments, Lou, about the program?
Well, I think it's been really helpful to consumers. I think it's a really great way to get started with gardening, get more confidence, and then branch out. And I hope we can continue this program for another 20 years.
All right. Well, that's all we have. Hope you can join us or visit the website and look for information. The logo, this is a common logo for the program, and this is available online. And look for it in the garden centers. So the garden centers and nurseries use this logo too to help identify plants that have been chosen for the program. So if you're looking for the plants that we know are pretty good performers for Oklahoma, this is the place to go to find them.
So Oklahoma Proven plants can be found in nurseries by looking for the Oklahoma Proven logo, but also at the Botanic Garden at Oklahoma State University, we have an Oklahoma Proven garden. And so people can visit the garden and see the actual plants being grown in the landscape and get a great idea of what they're going to look like at home.
Today we're talking about aerifying our home lawns, and joining us is Dr. Justin Moss, Extension Turfgrass Specialist. And Dr. Moss, can you tell us what we need to know about aerifying our home lawns, please?
Sure. It's always fun to go out and poke holes in your lawn, right? And so that's basically what aerification is. You'll hear aerification or aeration, basically the same thing. But yeah, we're just going out in our lawns and we're poking some holes in there to open things up, to let water come through, to let gas exchange happen, to relieve compaction, and to remove thatch, which can be a detrimental layer that can build up right at the surface of your lawn. So we can do all that just through this easy process of aerification.
Because air is important in the soil profile, right? I mean,
That's right.
It's important for the root growth and for...
That's exactly right. You need oxygen down there. Those roots need oxygen. And so it's a good way to allow that to happen, opening things up. And so we can do that through a couple of different techniques, really, and we can use equipment to just poke a hole in the ground and not take any soil out. We call that solid tine aeration or aerification. And then we can also use some hollow tines that will actually go down into the ground and pull soil, remove cores out of the soil, and lay those on top of the yard. And so the nice thing about that is if you do have compaction or if you have thatch that's built up in the grass, you can pull that out and kind of open things up.
Okay.
And then on some cases even, let's say you wanted to maybe bring in some sand or
To top dress it a little?
Yeah, or even some compost to top dress. If you pull those cores out, you can actually fill those back up if you wanted to. For home lawns, that's not a common practice. That's more so for maybe like golf courses and things like that. But I've seen it done in home lawns as well.
So is there a pro and con as to whether you use solid tines or use the hollow tines?
Yeah, for the solid tines are very good because you're just really poking a hole and moving on. and those holes will remain, but you're not removing soil out of the ground. And so there's, if you think about it, if you're going to remove all those soil cores and put them on top of the ground, there's going to be kind of a mess there, especially if it rains.
It kind of looks like you had a flock of geese come through.
Yeah, there's just little soil everywhere, right?
Yeah.
You're actually not moving a lot. You're actually only removing maybe 10% of your lawn when you pull those little cores.
Because it just goes down a couple inches.
Yeah, that's right. And so with the solid tines, it's very good for relieving compaction issues, opening up, let that water and air exchange occur. It's not necessarily as good for the thatch removal, and so if you wanted to get with that, you could look at the hollow tines where you pour the cores out, and so that's also good for relieving the compaction and for thatch reduction. But there's an extra step there in that cleanup step.
Right.
Now some folks just leave those cores right on top and not worry about them. Some companies or folks will kind of drag them and break them up and then just let them basically go back into the ground.
Right.
And then so you have to think about how much labor and how much do you want to put into this. This is a job that can be done by a homeowner if they go and rent equipment at an equipment rental facility, or maybe even easier than that, they could just hire a lawn professional to come out and do this for them. And so for a Bermuda grass lawn like we're in now, probably want to do that in the May through August time period,
okay,
when the grass is actively growing, because that way when you poke those holes, there's activity going, so it can actually grow and recover and fill back in. And that's another nice thing about this, it can actually generate some new root growth for you.
Right.
And so if you do it when the grass is actively growing, that root growth can occur.
Well, let's talk a little bit about how often a homeowner needs to do this, and also just a situation when you might find that you need to do that. How do you know when you need to do this? So
this is something that can be done every 1 to 3 or 4 years, and you could do it less often if you just have kind of a lawn space that you're not really utilizing a lot as far as traffic or kids or pets. But like here's an area of a garden where you have a walkway and it comes to the grass, and so this area is going to get a lot of foot traffic, so more than likely this area right here is going to get a lot of soil compaction built up quite quickly. And so an area like this, you may want to aerate it every year. Okay. Maybe even if it's really bad, if you haven't done it in a long time, you may even want to do it twice the first year and then do it every year thereafter, just to help that. Of course, you want to aerate it, let it recover, fill back in before you aerate it again. But you see areas like this where people walk, and as it spreads out and the people can spread out, maybe the compaction is not as bad, so you don't have to aerate as much.
And is that what we're seeing right here too, a little bit, is the compaction? It's exactly right.
And so when you get a lot of traffic, a lot of people coming through, or pets or what have you, the grass actually starts to die out, and that soil gets very rock hard. And so whenever you try to water it or put fertilizer on it or anything, it just kind of runs off because that surface is so compacted and hard that nothing can get in and nothing can get out. Right. And that's where that aerification can really help you. That's what it does well.
And you made a good mention of pets as well. I mean, a lot of times our dogs will run the perimeter of our property or something like that, and that really gets compacted.
That really compacts the soil, and those pets, they get in their habits, right, and they go the same place all the time. And so, yeah, if you have a lot of pets in the backyard, if you have a kennel, something like that, you're going to have to aerate to relieve that soil compaction for sure, or the grass is just going to die out. So there's no perfect grass, there's no perfect condition, and so we have to just do these basic practices, cultural and mechanical practices throughout the year to help it thrive and grow and have a nice healthy lawn. The other thing is when you're around trees, there may be some hardscapes you have to be careful about, but there's probably going to be roots. And so if you're going with a machine and hammering down in the ground and poking holes, you got to be careful about hitting those roots. For one, it could damage the tree roots, and for two, it could damage your equipment. Right. And so that you have to really be careful and think about. And even in this lawn here, you see some flags throughout the yard, and that's just the first thing we got to do is go identify the areas we can't poke holes in.
Right, our irrigation heads.
So this is irrigation heads, and if you poke the hole in the irrigation head, you're going to have a problem. Yep. And so we got to flag those out and work around them.
All right. Well, we've got our irrigation marked. Let's get to aerifying our grass.
All right.
corn today, and I'm going to go ahead and get started before I do much chat. I'm going to put a tablespoon of olive oil or whatever vegetable oil you happen to have into the pan. We want it to get just a little bit hot, but the pan was pretty hot when I put it in, so I don't think it'll take a long time for that to happen. It's already starting to sizzle a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the rest. It's about a cup of chopped onion, which is about a medium onion, and chop it as fine as you want it to be. It doesn't have to be this fine. You could leave it in bigger chunks, but I wanted it to mimic corn. And then I'm going to add a cup of yellow bell pepper. If you were in a better season, you could use a banana pepper in here instead of a yellow bell pepper. Again, I'm trying to mimic the appearance of the corn. You could use a different color, but this is just the way I'm going about it today, because regular cream corn is not going to have a lot of color added to it generally either. Now, I'm going to let this continue to cook for about 4 to 7 minutes until the onion becomes translucent. What I'm doing here is, usually in the summertime, if you want cream corn, the way that's traditionally done is you take a fresh ear of corn and you strip the kernels off and collect the liquid that comes off with it, and that becomes the creamy part of it. There's not actually cream added to it. But if you didn't can enough or freeze enough, this is not the best time of year to get a good ear of corn in order to be able to do that. So we're going to try and imitate or simulate what that might be like if we had done it during the summertime, which is why it's called winter cream corn. Okay, the onion is translucent now. The peppers are still going to have a fair amount of texture. In fact, they will keep some of that texture through the entire process. What I have now is 2 cups of frozen corn, and we're going to get those in there. We're going to bring this back and let it continue to cook for about 2 more minutes. And this is just going to go through the thawing stage. It's not going to have finished cooking the corn, but we've got more ingredients to go. Okay, because we weren't able to capture the juice as it came out of the corn because we bought it from the supermarket, we're going to create the creaminess to it. So I'm going to add about a half a cup, anywhere between a third to a half a cup of evaporated milk. Now you can use skim evaporated milk. That works really well because corn itself would not have a lot of it, of fat in it. So we're going to let this simmer and cook down until it thickens and becomes more creamy. It's going to be thinner than the cream corn that you would get in a can from the supermarket, but it's not going to be as thick as actual cream. There'll still be some liquid running out around the sides of it when it's done. But you want this to go ahead and cook down, which is why evaporated milk works so well, because it already has a good share of the water evaporated from it, so it's already concentrated, and so we're going to continue to concentrate that down. It's also already cooked, so you don't have as much concern that it's going to scorch while it does this, but keep it at a good enough simmer. You can also consider doing this in a wider pan, even a skillet, and that will allow the evaporation to happen a little bit faster. This may take 5 to 7 minutes. You can see this has gone for about 5 minutes, and it's really concentrated so that you don't have as much liquid moving down there. So we're going to go ahead and finish this up off the burner. If you wanted it thicker, you could go ahead and cook it a little bit longer. I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of black pepper to this. And again, this is something you can adjust based on your family preferences. And then somewhere between 1/4 of a teaspoon of kosher salt to this. The thing you need to remember at this point is you need to stir that really well so that somebody doesn't get all the salt or all the pepper. And then this is basically ready to go. It's much more creamy. It's got a lot better flavor than what you get out of the can. It is not an authentic creamed corn by any means, but I think you'll enjoy it more than what you get when you just open a can and pour it in and heat it up. This is winter creamed corn with a little bit of garnished green onion here to it, which is also something we can get in the wintertime. Winter creamed corn for Oklahoma Gardening. I'm Barbara Brown.
There are lots of great horticultural events this time of year. Be sure and consider these activities when you're making your plans for the weeks ahead. Next week, we'll prune our nectarine tree, find out how trees are produced at Greenleaf Nursery, identify lady beetles, and have the details of our first garden contest of the year. We hope you join us then for more TV you'll grow to love. To find out more information about show topics, as well as recipes, videos, articles, fact sheets, and other resources, including a directory of local extension offices, be sure and visit our website, oklahomagardening.okstate.edu. And we always have great information, answers to questions, photos, and gardening discussions on your favorite social media as well. Join in on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can find this entire show and other recent shows, as well as individual segments on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. And tune in to our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel to watch segments from previous hosts. Oklahoma Gardening is produced by the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service as part of the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources at Oklahoma State University. The Botanic Garden at OSU is home to our studio gardens, and we encourage you to come visit this beautiful Stillwater jewel. We would like to thank our generous underwriter, the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry. Additional support is also provided by Pond Pro Shop, Greenleaf Nursery and the Garden Debut Plants, the Oklahoma Horticultural Society, and the Tulsa Garden Club.